Hi, I am Melissa Witmer, the founder of Ultimate Results and the creator of the Ultimate Athlete Project. I travel around the country and around the world giving clinics to Ultimate players about how to better prepare physically for the sport of Ultimate. But I wasn't always this way. A few years ago I was probably a lot like you. I had a lot of Ultimate skill and a lot of passion for the sport, but I didn't really know how to best physically prepare for playing the sport that I love so much. In fact, about 3 years ago, hopefully I wasn't a lot like you. I was actually really out of shape. I had stopped playing competitive Ultimate for a while, and so without those goals I kind of let myself get out of shape. I was sitting at a desk a lot, I gained about 20 pounds, and my Ultimate career wasn't looking so good. But then in about 2010, I kind of got fed up with myself, and I decided that I would try out for this new team that I heard about that was forming in Philadelphia. And I knew it was going to take a lot of work to get myself in shape, but I also knew it would provide me with exactly the motivation that I needed. In deciding to try out for this team, at that point, like I said, I was really out of shape. But not only that, I lived in Lancaster, it was like 90 minutes away, so I knew that nobody on the tryout selection committee would know who I was. I'd never played for any big-time college program, again, nobody would have any clue who I was coming into tryouts. And also I knew I would be about 5 years older probably than most of the other tryouts there. So this is all to say that, I just felt like I didn't really have a big margin of error in getting myself ready for these tryouts. So I decided to take it pretty seriously and commit to doing it, but I knew it would take some work. And it did. And in this process, I decided that I would do things differently than I had done before, because I knew that I had to train smarter in order to be able to compete with the younger athletes that I was, and more well-known athletes that I was competing against. So I kind of revamped my whole training philosophy in this process. And I did a lot of research into how professional athletes train, how they get ready for their sports. I totally revamped the whole way that I thought about training. And to make a long story short, I was really successful, and I made the team that I wanted to make. It was really satisfying to go through that journey and to achieve that goal after a lot of hard work. But not only did I make the team, but I also turned out to be a better athlete than I ever was in my 20s, because I was training so much smarter than I ever had been. And this made me realize just how much athletic potential I had been leaving on the table all these years. And I think that's pretty true for a lot of Ultimate players out there. I think that a lot of people have a lot of untapped potential that they're never going to see because they are still training with kind of the same methods that many Ultimate players have been using for the past 20 years. But it's not really how the elite level athletes of other field sports do their training. So in this next series of videos, I want to talk to you about these principles that I use and the principles that I've been using in the Ultimate Athlete Project. The way that I've been training obviously worked for me, and not only does it work for me, but it also works for the athletes that are in my program. But even if you never become a member of the Ultimate Athlete Project, if you can just apply some of the principles that I'm going to talk about in these next few videos, you're going to see a big change in the results that you get. If you can believe in changing what you've been doing and kind of maybe doing things a little bit differently than what people around you are doing. I'll admit it was a little weird when I changed the whole way I thought about my training. I wasn't totally sure it was going to work. But I stuck with it, and I wasn't really even sure it was going to work until I kind of got to my first tournament and realized that I could do way more than I had ever done before. I could run all day, and I had a lot more endurance and a lot more physical ability. So anyway, but we'll get to that. Alright, so maybe the first thing I want to talk about is kind of our big picture of our training year. A lot of what I see in the Ultimate community is following this idea of sort of like a linear periodization model where people feel the need to build up this cardio base. They run, do long distance running, and then as they get closer and closer to the season, they do shorter and shorter runs to shorter sprints and things like that until they get to the season. And so I want to talk about this idea of linear periodization and what it is, and maybe why we want to think a little bit differently about our long-term planning. So, let's see. Okay, so again, linear periodization is this idea that we kind of start with a big volume and then go to higher intensity. And we see this kind of thought process in two main sports, one being track and one being lifting. So, so again, if your season is out here, well, and I won't even call this a season, because for both strength training, or for weightlifting, sorry, and for you know, a track athlete, pretty much you're preparing for one event. That main event. You might have some other meets, but they're not so important. It's really one event you're looking at. And if you're an Olympic athlete, pretty much you have one event every 4 years. So you're thinking about like a 4-year process of doing you know, cycles of this. But basically, this linear periodization model is this idea that you start with a cardio base. It might be many miles of running. Okay, and then I'm not exactly sure if this is what track athletes do. In fact, I'm sure it's not, but this is what I've seen people do in the ultimate community, and it is based off of what people have learned from track. So then they might do 800 repeats later, okay, and then you might do 400s, then you might do 200s, and basically you're just getting shorter and shorter distances, 10-yard sprints maybe at the end, or maybe some agility work here. You know, you might do some ladders. Okay, it's more complicated than this, but the basic idea is this. And you kind of linearly go from long to short. Same thing in weightlifting. So you might start off your macro cycle doing 12 to 15 reps. Okay, then you might go on to a phase where you're doing 8 to 12. Okay, then maybe more kind of strength building, smaller. Okay, then maybe you're doing singles or whatever. And you probably would do more than one cycle, so then you'd start over again. Okay. And then go through this again until you get to kind of like your main event. Okay, again, I'm oversimplifying this, but the main idea is starting with high volume and then moving to higher intensity, lower volume. Okay, maybe you do this more than once. And it's all in preparation for this one thing. So, so it can be very mathematical and very well calculated. Okay, but there are some differences between these sports and the sport that we play. So, first of all, in both running and in weight training, the sport that you're training for is also kind of the sport that you're doing. So, in order to train for the sprinting, you're doing a lot of sprinting. In order to train for strength training, you're doing a lot of lifting. The training modality and the sport is kind of the same thing. Okay, that's one difference. The other main difference is that you're training for one event, maybe per year, or maybe per 4-year cycle, and everything is geared towards that one thing. So, you know, this kind of process and these kind of sports don't really have a lot in common with field sports like soccer, lacrosse, football, or any sport that's played on a field, because the training modality is not going to be the same as the actual sport. For one thing, and then for another thing, you have a season. Okay, and so you're not training for just one event. And so, you know, when I was going back and thinking about how I wanted to do my training, you know, I kind of thought about the way that I had been taught about how to get ready for ultimate and running 400 repeats, and I couldn't really envision in my mind you know, LeBron James going out and running 400 repeats on a track, or you know, any football wide receiver doing this, or, you know, do tennis players do this? Does anyone do this other than, you know, us, as for our off-season programming? And, you know, the more I looked into it, the more I realized, no, of course, I can understand why players would want to borrow from disciplines of track, because track athletes are fast and want to be fast. But this isn't really the way that any other, elite-level athletes in other field sports train. They're kind of maybe more effective and more relevant ways to do things. So I'm going to erase this here. and maybe think a little bit about a different way to organize our training. So I still think it's important to have different phases in which you're changing your training modality. You don't want to be doing the same thing all the time. But instead of organizing things in a linear way, I'd like to think of just organizing things into small phases of 4 to 6 weeks. So for any kind of training stimulus that you're giving yourself, you're going to see the most adaptations to that stimulus in the first 3 weeks. After that, you're going to still see some adaptation, but then as you go on, you're just going to get less and less return on your investment for the time that you put in. So I like to keep my my blocks of training, I like to think of them as being about 4 to 6 weeks long. And then after 4 to 6 weeks, I want to change either my training focus. Maybe I want to focus on a different athletic quality, or maybe I want to change my training modality. Maybe I'll focus on the same or similar quality, but change how I'm training that quality so that I can get more of a response. If you can, it's also good if you can put your training blocks in an order that makes some sense, in which one block is kind of building upon another. So, you don't want to just do it randomly. There's a lot of athletic qualities you want to focus on when you're trying to become a better ultimate athlete. You obviously need some fitness or conditioning, we'll call it. That you could also focus on strength. There's also, power to consider. You need speed. You need vertical jumping ability. And you need, agility. You need many, many things. And so some of these are directly related to your performance on the field. So a vertical jump into speed, you see that in use on the field. And some of these are kind of precursors to those qualities. So you might not need brute strength on the field the same way you do in football, but the strength that you have is kind of a precursor to developing these other athletic qualities, or it can enhance other athletic qualities. Okay, so your fitness is greatly enhanced by strength training, things like that. So all of these are examples of athletic qualities you want to work on, and you could think of some others or variations of these. But you don't want to just do these in random order and hope everything is going to turn out all right. You want to recognize which things are precursors to other things, and maybe think about an order for your different phases. So for example, in my mind, the precursor to pretty much everything is going to be strength. So if I was going to put blocks in an order, I might have want to have a strength block before I have a block that's focused on power. And, power and your vertical jump are very highly correlated. Okay, the more power you can produce, the higher your vertical is going to be. So in some ways these are pretty much similar, the same quality, but maybe in this power-focused phase I'm thinking more about like Olympic-style derivations of lifting programs, things that are like more weight and maybe less speed. But maybe I would want to do a vertical jump training block that's now focused on like lighter weights, higher speed, maybe plyometrics, something like that. And so, the phases that come before my vertical jumping phase now support this phase that I'm in now. And I'd get much better results than if I just did, like if each of these is 4 weeks, that's 12 weeks. I get better results doing this than I do if I just have 12 weeks and I'm doing some sort of like plyometric only program for 12 weeks. This is going to give me much better results. Okay. So let's see. So this is just, I think this gives you some idea of how to maybe think about your organizing your training. We also want to think about maybe what type of things we want to work on at different parts of the year. So during the off season is a great time to work on strength and power. When you're not as close to your season. So maybe we'll do that in the off season. And in the Ultimate Athlete Project, this is what we do. We alternate between phases of strength-focused phases and power-focused phases. And we kind of go from more maximum strength type phases to more strength endurance as we get closer to the preseason. For power development, we do kind of a similar idea. Each power phase builds on a strength phase, and then we go from like higher weight, more Olympic style sort of lifting to doing more medicine ball work, and then transition into plyometrics. So, you know, these are things you want to focus on maybe more in your off-season. Pre-season, you want to be thinking about more sports-specific kind of movements. Oops. Let's try this again. Pre-season. You want to think a little bit more about going towards what exactly you need for your sport. So you can't ignore conditioning. You have to do that in your preseason, and then you know, if you this is a good time to do maybe a speed block or maybe a vertical jumping block. What exactly you're going to do might be dependent on what you think your strengths and weaknesses are. Might be dependent on how much time you have, things like that. But just kind of thinking about your training in this way, having a main focus for a phase doesn't mean that you ignore the other phases, but having a primary focus for a phase and having that phase last for 4 to 6 weeks, and then kind of alternating or building one phase upon another. I think this is a more useful way to think about the training in your mind rather than just thinking about a linear periodization type model. In our next video, we're going to talk a little bit more about these athletic qualities, maybe some of the ways that we can train these athletic qualities. We'll maybe go into more detail about what you're going to do on a weekly basis, how to organize your workouts. We're also going to revisit the concept of supercompensation. So supercompensation is a topic that kind of tells you how to space your workouts for the maximum amount of adaptation. A while ago I made a video about supercompensation as part of my 25 Ultimate Tips series, and you can get that series at 25ultimatetips.com. It's the number 25, 25ultimatetips.com. And it's the first email in that series if you want to take a look at it. And basically that little video I made I got more email responses from that first email in my 25 tips series than I did from any of the other emails. So it's an important concept that people are really interested in. You know, it's a basic concept in kinesiology, but one that, you know, most normal people haven't heard about. So we're going to revisit that, maybe go into a little bit more detail. You're going to learn how to time your workouts to get the most out of your training. And so, but while you're waiting for that, I'd encourage you to leave a comment in the area below if you have comments or questions about the stuff that we talked about today. You can leave that below, or you can just reply to any email that I have ever sent you, and that will come to me. And I'll try to answer as many of those questions as I can before our next video that's coming out in a couple of days. So I also want you to keep your eye on your email so that you'll be notified of when the next video is coming out. And I look forward to teaching you more about program design and helping you to create a good off-season, pre-season plan for next season.